Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jessica if you're new. If not, welcome back. I want to give a trigger warning for today's video because I'm going to be talking about some heavy topics. I'm going to be talking about God, religion, some personal experiences from my own life that are pretty heavy. And so yeah, I have been praying and meditating all morning, but if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to start this off with a prayer as well. So, God, thank you always first. I ask that you just come into this place, come into my heart, come into my spirit, God. Um, Come into the listener's spirit, God, and uh, just let your will be done here today. Let your purpose be served here today. Please soften the mind and the heart of the listener today, God, and give them the grace and the discernment to leave whatever may not align with them and take what they can take from this. And just give me the words, and yeah, all glory to you, God. And we love you. We thank you, God. In Jesus' name I do pray. Amen. Okay. So I'm going to tell you guys a story, and I did not want to tell this story. I would never come and tell this specific story to the internet, but I genuinely feel as though I was called to tell this story. So I'm just going to tell the story, and then I'm going to maybe talk about that after. I'm not going to give a whole lot of context. I'm just going to jump right in. So when I was 14 years old, I was in the Juvenile Department of Corrections. I was a ward of the state from the ages of 12 to 18. When you first go to DOC, you're in what is called an assessment unit for the first 2 weeks before they figure out where in population they're going to place you. So I'm in this assessment unit in this new place, and I don't have any roommate or anything like that in my cell. And one night I'm sleeping, and the lights in this place, when they're flipped on, it's very bright. When they're flipped off, it just dims. It never goes black. The lights never go off. Before I tell this story, I am going to say, I just want to make it clear. Telling this story, I don't take it lightly. It's taken me months to come to this place where I'm going to do this. I had to just set a day and just do it. The conviction to do this and tell this has not left me. If anything, it just continues to be confirmed and confirmed and confirmed. And so here we are. But yeah, I just want to be clear that I don't take this lightly. And so yeah, the lights, they don't turn all the way off. They dim when they shut off. And I'm laying in bed, and I have the blanket over my head because that's just how I would try to go to sleep because it was the light. And I take the blanket off my head, and as soon as I take the blanket off my head, everything is just pitch black. And I'm just frozen, and I can't move, and I feel just horrified. And yeah, like I said, I couldn't move, and I couldn't scream, and I couldn't get anything out. I was just stuck, and everything was just black. It was just total black and darkness. And I'm like this for a short time, and then finally I'm able to break out of it and scream. And so I yell, and when I yell, the officer comes down the hallway, and as soon as she comes up to the window, the lights go back on and everything's normal. And I just tell her the lights just went off, and I was in total darkness, and I need out. I just wanted to get out of the cell. And so the officer Enlo was her name, she yells at me and tells me, be quiet. That the lights didn't go off. No, I'm not coming out this cell. Hush up, And she walks back down the hallway. So that's that. And I just try to calm down and try to fall asleep. Obviously, eventually I fell asleep. And the very next day, officer in-law is back, and it's after we're coming back from eating, and she asked me to approach the staff desk. So I come up to the staff desk and she says, "What happened yesterday?" And I said, "Ma'am, like I told you, the lights went out completely and I couldn't move, and I felt like I just couldn't move, and I was in total darkness." And she said, "Listen, honey, this is a federal building." She said, "So before this was juvenile prison, this was Indiana women's prison. It's a huge safety violation if our lights are able to go out. It doesn't matter if all the lights went out in the city," she tells me, "that they have generator upon generator, and our lights would not go out. And so it's just absolutely impossible that that happened." And I just told her that, it did happen. And so she kind of just seemed maybe like she didn't believe me. Okay, that was it. She sent me away. The next day, Officer Enlow is not there, but apparently she has put in a request for me to speak to someone from the church. So I go to this table and I sit down with this woman, and she says, "Hello, I've been asked to come here and speak to you. That there was an incident that happened. Will you tell me what happened?" And I told her what happened. And I'm thinking, she's going to tell me something that might make me feel better. But she tells me that I am under spiritual attack. She basically said that she had seen a lot of unexplainable things happen in this facility. And how she explained it to me was that the devil is a coward, and that he preys upon young children who are already troubled and displaced, and that I had better read my Bible and equip myself for this war that I was getting ready to face and this journey in this place. And she told me that should anything happen again, to say out loud the words, "Jesus is Lord," because she told me that at the sound of Jesus' name, all evil flees. And that is what she told me. So I went back to my cell, and I just remember that being a very, very dark time for me. I was young. The adults were not telling me things. When I look back, I'm like, gosh, wow. That's what she told me, So fast forward about a year later, I'm still there, and now I'm 15, and I'm doing well, actually, after doing very bad for a long time and going on this, journey. And I'm getting ready to be released. And I was reading my Bible a lot. And then one night I'm sleeping. I had just had a roommate, but she left, and so I'm alone. And then I woke up, and it was still the middle of the night, and something felt very eerie and weird. So I stood up and I turned around, and I saw myself laying on the bed. So maybe a dream, maybe an out-of-body experience. I know that it had nothing that had ever happened to me prior, and nothing has ever happened to me like this since. And my heart started pounding when I saw myself. And I go to the window, and I look out of the window. This shit is crazy. Oh, I go to the window, I look out of the window, and there's fog, and you can't see much. And then all at once, the fog clears, and I see a woman standing in the distance. She is wearing all black. She's in a long black dress, and she has on black gloves, and she's holding a black umbrella over her head. She's just holding it like this, and she's standing, and she's just staring at me. And I immediately recognize her as not human. I immediately recognize her as some sort of spirit. And at first I remember feeling very afraid. I didn't know what to do, didn't know what to say. And then just anger just flooded in and just rushed over me. And I remember being like, okay, Like, now what? You know what I'm saying? I'm like yelling, like I'm just trying to, yeah, in so many ways kind of confront it. Like, okay, what now? And as I'm yelling and all this and blah, 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 something just almost as if something just jumped through the window. Something just came. It's difficult to explain, but basically I was shut down. I was just not my own, uncontrollably, I was just shut down. And my mouth just shut. And I remember literally feeling like it happened slow. But I think when you're in situations like this, things can feel like they're going in slow motion. But I was laid down. I was forced to lay back, and I dropped to my butt and then was laid flat onto the ground. And that was it. I was just stuck on the ground, and I couldn't move, and I couldn't speak, and I couldn't scream. And it was just that same exact feeling again, like something else is, you know. And I remembered what the woman said in that moment. And it was hard and I struggled, but I remember I pushed it out of my mouth and I said, Jesus is Lord. And boom, just like that, it all went away. Everything went away. And I was there and I was fine. And there was no waking up moment, which is why I don't feel as if it was a dream. Because I remember when I said Jesus is Lord and it all went away, I was no longer looking at I was no longer on the bed. I was inside of my body and I was on the floor, and I got up and I still went to the door and tried to be let out, obviously, because I was scared shitless. And they did not let me out. They wouldn't let me out. So I just remember praying and asking God if he would help me, please just go to sleep. And I fell asleep. So fast forward to 24 years old, and I'm with my now husband, but I've definitely, I skipped over 10 years here. So I'm already a mother. I had gone, when you deal with child abandonment, lots of different traumas and whatnot, you're just going through it. You don't really realize how it affects you or how it plays out in your life. But all of that played out in my life. I wouldn't say at 24 I was in a great space, but I will say that I was trying to get it together, and I was really, I was sold out for Jesus. I always had been, and I'm newly in this relationship with my now husband. And I remember him just kind of questioning my faith, and he had learned me, and he knew who I was, and I had told him about some of my experiences, and I had told him of this experience, and he knew how, just devoutly Christian I was. And one day he's talking to me about religion, about God, and all of these sorts of things, and I'm just arguing so heavy just for Jesus, and he just says, well, but Jessica, just what if you didn't grow up in America? What if you grew up somewhere else and you weren't given Jesus, but you were given Buddha, or you were given Krishna, or you were given, a different set of morals and guidelines, and you were taught something totally different? Who could you be then? And that struck me so crazy, because no one had ever phrased it like that. And it caused me to look at my life and see it all in a different way. Because even Sharad, my husband, questioning my faith and whatnot, like, it's bigger. It's so much bigger than me. It's so much bigger than him. Like, even him being in my life is God. It's such God. Like, his uncle is the pastor of this church where he's from. His mother is a minister, and she's this beautiful, strong voice in the choir. And Sharad was in the Navy let's go back now to 22. I'm 22 years old. I'm trying to hurry up because I know I'm all over the place. Just come with me, because we're on a journey. But I'm running out of time, so I want to try to hurry up. So 22 years old, I have been in an abusive relationship from 18 to 22 with an older man. So at 22 years old, I'm fighting hard to get out of this very toxic situation. And I used to go to this church that was right around the corner from my little apartment. I didn't know anybody at this church. I would go to this church, I would get into the back row, and I would just listen. I remember I would just cry. And it was just a hard time. And I remember one time at the church, and it was just one of those times, just crying. The message done just beat me down. And I'm just crying. They do the altar call. And I remember feeling like, it's 3:33. I remember feeling like I need to go to the altar. I need to go to the altar, but I just can't move. You ever just been like, man, you are just really defeated, and so I just said, I'm not going to the altar. And I open my eyes and I look up, and the pastor from all the way in the front, I'm in the back row. He looks at me and he goes and points at me and calls me up and tells me to come. And so I get up and I walk up there, and this woman comes over and she prays over me. And then these years later, I meet Sharon, and obviously it takes some time because, you don't meet Mama right away and all this. But when I finally meet her, and then we go to the church, and the church was in a different building now. So it took a little while to realize it all. But it was like, wow, God gave me this person who, God is just in it. God's in it always, and God knows what he is doing for you. For real, especially if you try to come close to God. But yeah, now I found myself in this relationship with, the son of all the elders in this church, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, I've just been given this beautiful prize, And so I listened to him differently, and I listened to the things he said differently then, and I still do, because I don't listen to anybody. And it will literally take, I have to see God for real, and he makes me see God. And so I listened to him differently, and that was why I was able to kind of, come out and go on that journey. It wasn't easy. I reached out to lots of staff members from the different facilities that I grew up in that had kind of helped mentor me in my faith. I think I was looking for them to somehow just tell me something, that will be well, it doesn't matter about any of those other religions because this is, this is the one. And but that's not really what I got. I got a lot of it's either this or it's not, kind of good luck to you, either you believe or you don't type thing, And so I did. I made the decision. It was not an easy decision. I had to come face to face with so much fear. And that was another thing that made me, once I committed to stepping away and exploring other religions and, in reading other religious texts and all this sort of stuff. It made me confront so much fear, because it's the fear of it. It's the same thing that you should, have this faith with, and it's structured in this way that also makes you so fearful to go any other way. It's fear of hell, Satan, and all these kind of, these things that we're taught. But I went the totally other way, and I read the entire Bhagavad Gita. I read Moonbeams of Mahamudra. I read the Tao, tons of podcasts. Alan Watts's lecture on Jesus Christ specifically was kind of instrumental in helping me figure all of this out. And I had even gotten to a place of kind of anger with Christianity, I'll say. And I at one point even said, I don't believe in Jesus. This comes with a whole bunch of craziness, but this over here, when learning about Hinduism and Buddhism and how lots of their It's all constructed around like peace of mind, learning to calm your mind, learning to quiet your mind, uh, resisting desire, you know, and so I started to, this is what helped me like to quit smoking cigarettes. I had always smoked cigarettes, you know, and I finally quit smoking cigarettes after trying to quit so many times. I felt like I just had a deeper understanding of what my mission was. And I had always felt like I was really on, you know, a spiritual path. Like I've always felt close with God, you know. And yeah, in this time, I had beef with Jesus and Christianity, but I don't ever feel like I ever like stepped away from God, you know? If anything, I feel like my understanding of God was widened and broadened and deepened. And yeah, I was so grateful for all that I learned and the ways that I was changed and transformed and all the gems I picked up and all the inspiration I was able to find. But the one thing that always kind of stuck out to me was that when it came to that experience that I had in DOC, Sherrod was just always kind of lost on that. Like for that, I'd just be like, but explain that, you know? And he didn't have an answer for that. And I love God because that showed me that like, yes, I'm with this person and it's meant to be, but he's not God. You know, he doesn't have the answers. And so I had to go back to kind of making my own decision. And man, I was just shown so much. I definitely feel like Jesus was a real person. I definitely feel like Jesus was someone that God did send to us in a human form to show us how to love. I just want to be like Jesus. I want to love like Jesus because there's just so much that we can learn from Jesus. And that's the point of this, right? I feel like Christianity can be so just muddied with so much different, you know, translations. So many things have changed, and I feel as though it's really used as like a political tool, a spiritual, you know, tool, but that has been kind of warped. And anything like the Bible that holds so much power, of course, it's in the hands of these imperfect people. It's going to be misused, and I think it can be so easy in 2023 now to just give up on Jesus, just walk away from all that and be like, I'm just done. But I just would like to plant the seed that maybe it's okay to take Jesus with you wherever you go. Learn other things, read other things, deepen yourself spiritually, but don't leave Jesus behind, because I mean, there's so much we can learn from Jesus, from his life, from the gospel. I want to share with you guys too. First of all, Sarah Jakes Roberts. It's T.D. Jakes' daughter. She does like sermons on YouTube. She's incredible, and I would really suggest that you search her up and start watching some of her stuff because it's incredible. I'll also even link, we live in Washington State now, but we still attend church at his uncle's church every Sunday from Indiana because we watch it on Facebook Live. And I will link the Facebook Live page to the church in this video. I will also link this Sarah Jakes Roberts video in this. But I was just watching it like 3 days ago, and it was I think it was her most recent one. It was called A Bold Move. And that was just an amazing sermon. But I just want to touch on some of the things that she talked about, because she talked about self-preservation, how we go through so much in our life and we learn to self-preserve and kind of go away and hide away and keep ourselves, you know, distant from others and that sort of thing. And this is something that I really, being kind of institutionalized, I can struggle with this. And she talked about how Jesus was a master. Jesus mastered, and I love that she used that word. Jesus mastered moving from self-preservation into mission mode. That he would go to a city and he would heal the sick and he would feed the hungry, and then he would immediately leave that city and go to another city and be shut away. And he would pray, and he'd be in the garden, and he'd be with God, he'd be with his disciples, but he would, you know, heal, he would do God's work, and then he would preserve, and he could move in and out of that with ease. And I just think, gosh, like, that is something I aspire to do and to be. God's purpose requires participation, not preservation. And I just loved how she said, you're trying to hold on to the little that you have finally been able to create for yourself. And being stuck in this preservation mode is what's stopping you from turning that little that you have into the huge, just abundance that God wants for you. And that, yeah, we got to come out of self-preservation for that. And we have to do things that feel vulnerable and feel scary. I was so scared. I did not want to do this. Like, I legit did not want to do this. Like, I feared what people would think about me. I feared that, like, people would just be like, she's crazy. This chick is just crazy. Unsubscribe. I was asked to share it, and here I am. I'm sharing it. I've done my part. I'll let God do whatever God planned to do with this. It feels good. It feels freeing to just... And yeah, Hebrews 3:14, for if we are faithful to the end, trusting God just as firmly as when we first believed, we will share in all that belongs to Christ. Consider him, Jesus, who endured so much from sinners, so not to lose heart. John 15:1-5, I am the vine, my Father is the vine dresser, you are the branches. I am the vine, God is the vine dresser, the sower of these seeds. I'm the vine, you're the branches that will bear fruit and are supposed to bear fruit. And so stay close to the vine is all that's saying. And close to the vine, close to Jesus, all that means is close to an incredible person who loved everyone. I am so excited by the idea of becoming a totally different person, somebody that I don't even recognize at 30 years old. Like, that's where I am, and I love it. I love where I am, and I'm grateful. But yeah, staying close to Jesus is just staying close to true power, because it does take true power to stay calm, to be patient, to master moving from self-preservation into mission mode. Like, who doesn't want to do that? God is incomprehensible. Jesus, same. And yeah, just like I was able to go and pull from like these other texts and these other religions and gain so much kind of different, totally different knowledge, I know that I can pull from Jesus too, and who Jesus was. So I think that that's just the point of this video. I'm sorry if I had to traumatize you to get here, but we're here. I really hope that you guys were able to get something out of this, even if just one little thing that you can take with you. I hope you feel good. I love you. I'll see you soon with all types of just you never know, surprises.